Bad bitch. Hey.
All right, so let's go ahead and keep it moving and let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens and the Miami Dolphins. When I say the Baltimore Ravens literally brutally beat the crap out of the Miami Dolphins, that is a fact. Baltimore Ravens 59, Miami Dolphins 10. Listen, I thought this was going to be the worst blowout of the day, but I got another one I'm going to tell you about later on, which is a little personal to me because it kind of broke my heart. But we keep it moving with the Baltimore Ravens, Miami Dolphins. Let's talk about stats. We have the Baltimore Ravens ended the game with 378 passing yards. The Miami Dolphins only had 179. That's almost a 200-yard difference. Hold on, let's keep it moving. The Baltimore Ravens had 265 rushing yards. The Miami Dolphins had 21. 21. That's 244 yards difference. You cannot win a game with 21 rushing yards for shizzle. Yards per play, the Baltimore Ravens made about 8.8 yards per play, and the Miami Dolphins had 4.3. And the red zone, the Miami Dolphins was only in the red zone one time, and they scored their only touchdown. And the Baltimore Ravens was 5 out of 7. The time of possession is doubled. The Miami Dolphins had the ball for 19 minutes and 53 seconds. And the Baltimore Ravens had the ball for 40 minutes and 7 seconds. You're talking about controlling the game. That is nothing but control. All right, so let's talk about leaders, passing yard leaders. Was Jackson with the Baltimore Ravens. He had 324 yards. And rushing yards was Ingram with the Baltimore Ravens. He had 107 yards. And then Brown had 147 receiving yards. Of course, all yard leaders were on the Baltimore Ravens. All right, that's really messed up. I don't know what y'all got going on down there in Miami, but you might want to figure some shit out. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. Now, this game started off completely different. Le'Veon Bell back after his 1-year hiatus from the NFL. He scored his first touchdown back, and it was on and popping in New York, or so they thought. Those Buffalo Bills came back and beat them by 1 point, 17-16. Wow. Player of the game was Josh Brown, wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills. He had 123 total yards and 1 TD. So let's talk about the stats. Game stats. All right, passing yards. The Buffalo Bills had 242 passing yards. The New York Jets had 155. Almost 100 yards difference. Rushing yards, the Buffalo Bills had 128, and the New York Jets had 68. Also almost double. The yards per play, Buffalo Bills had 5.9 yards per play. New York Jets can only get out 3.4 yards per play on average. Red zones. It was a real slow game. They both only had one red zone option, and they both scored touchdowns on those red zone options. So they went 1 for 1. Time of possession, the Buffalo Bills had the ball for 27 minutes and 59 seconds, and the New York Jets had it for 32 minutes and 1 second. All right, let's talk about yard leaders. Passing leader was Allen for the Buffalo Bills. He had 254 passing yards, QB. Rushing yards, Singletary, of course, for the Buffalo Bills, has 70 yards rushing. And receiving yards was, again, Brown. He had 123 receiving yards. And that was a boring game. I guess. But the Buffalo Bills, every year, they'd be right on that cusp of making shit happen, and then nothing. Hopefully this year is different. All right, let's talk about those LA Rams and the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers lose to the LA Rams at home, 30-27 for their opener. Interesting. Running back, the player of the game before the LA Rams was Malcolm Brown. He had 53 total yards and 2 touchdowns.
Favorites, odds
so let's
makers
talk
went down. A lot of people leaning towards
All right, so the LA Rams had 183 passing yards. Carolina Panthers had 216.
Well, there's a great example of what Luke Kuechly talked to us.
Rushing yards, the Rams had 166. The Carolina Panthers had 127 yards per play on average. Carolina Panthers won that one with 5.4 yards per play versus the 4.8 yards of the LA Rams. Red zone attempts. It was 3 and 3 for the Carolina Panthers. They went 3 times and they scored 3 times. The LA Rams, they went 3 and 4, and then time of possession. The LA Rams had the ball 32 minutes and 31 seconds, and the Carolina Panthers had it 26:51. Let's talk about yard leaders for this game. Cam Newton, of course, no doubt. I don't care if they win, lose, or draw. He always balling. He had 239 yards passing. Rushing leader was McCaffrey. He had 81 yards rushing, and that was for the Rams. And then the receiving yard leader was for the Rams as well, which was McCaffrey again with 81 receiving yards. So he had 81 receiving and 81 rushing yards. He was balling out. No wonder why they won. All right, let's keep it moving. Next up on the list is the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Woo, this game got crazy. All right, it was so many injuries in this game, it doesn't make any sense. I think it was like 4 people who left this game, but one of them was ejected. All right, so this game ended with the Kansas City Chiefs 40 and the Jacksonville Jaguars 26 points. All right, so let's talk about it. Let's go to those stats. All right, so the Kansas City Chiefs ended the game with 378 passing yards, and the Jacksonville Jaguars had 347. The Kansas City Chiefs had 113 rushing yards. Jacksonville had 81. And yards per play, they were both about the same. Kansas City Chiefs had 8.2 yards per play on average, and Jacksonville Jaguars had 8.6 yards per play. Red zone attempts and completions. So the Jacksonville Jaguars went to the red zone 3 times. So they were 1 out of 3 attempts, and the Kansas City Chiefs 2 out of 6. Time of possession, 31 minutes and 15 seconds for the Kansas City Chiefs, and 28 minutes and 45 seconds for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's talk about yard leaders. Passing yards, Mahomes. Listen, Mahomes did his thing for the Kansas City Chiefs. He got hurt early on. He got that knee hit, but he came back out there and he made it happen. He had 378 yards passing. Whew. Rushing yardage was LaShawn McCoy for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He had 81 yards. He was the yard leader. And receiving yard was Watkins for the Kansas City Chiefs. He had 198 yards receiving. That's where half of those 378 passing yards from Mahomes went to. Anyway, that game was good. It was real good. The problem with that one is a lot of people, like I said, got injured in this game. So we shall see what happens next week with all the injuries, especially on the Kansas City Chiefs. We can talk about that in detail later, but we will be right back.
My shovel get me to your level, cause I dig ya. I Stevie Wonder, ponder, think big, ya dream of